got the doors from Jack, and they don't quite fit yet, so we're gonna have to modify some things. But this is pretty much, when you add wheels and everything, this is pretty much what the car's gonna look like. So it doesn't. I don't think it looks too bad. It's pretty roomy in here, sort of. 2 people, comfortable. But it'll be a pretty neat car.
Well, another Saturday. We had started putting the motor together last week. There's the crank, and spent a couple hours cleaning the pistons to put rings on. I was just going to do a re-ring job on it, and noticed. Actually, I took the motor apart before I even ordered the parts to make sure it was right. But obviously, I missed it, and there was some cracks in the pistons, and cylinder walls was tore up a little bit, so I had to go get it bored out. So that's where the motor's at right now. The next thing I'm working on is the inside of the body here. I've got to run some more tubing to tie that floor all together and give me a subfloor. So that's what I'm working on now. I've taken this piece of tubing here, if you can see it, and notching it out to fit around those subframes. That little subframes I've already got in there. So that's what I've been working on today. Meanwhile, the other day I went ahead and took the end of my frame rails and rounded them. So that looks kind of cool now. There's the other one. Here's this from that angle. So that's going to look pretty good, you know. I've been working maybe an hour and a half before I forgot all about the camera. So I thought I'd show you what I've done. Now, I took a lot of thought in doing this because, you know, as you guys know, I built this whole body from scratch, and I've got to stiffen it up to start on the frame. So I don't want to put any tubing or stiffeners in there that's going to be in the way, and I got to cut out again, and it causes extra work. So I did quite a lot of thinking about it, and I think this might work. But anyway, there's what I've done. I got those pieces I was working on earlier, like door jambs there, and welded them in, and then I put a little, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, a little triangle piece there to help hold that door jamb, because this post really doesn't have anything to support it. And I went ahead and I figured if I put a tunnel for the drive shaft, that'd be plenty wide for it. And I got that side done too. So now what I'm working on is I've got to put some tubing around the edge. So I bent this piece of tubing. Let's see if we can show you. To fit the top of that tub. And I'm going to make it in 2 pieces. So I'll come over here and start again and lay one here. And then when I get it bent to shape, then I'll weld them together in the middle. Because if I make it one piece, first off, it's harder to make one piece and make it fit. And second off, there's a lip, and it fits under that lip. So it's going to be real hard to get it up under that lip in one piece, because it gets narrower where the door jambs is. Or whatever they are. And it's not quite as hot today, but you can tell I'm a sweater, right? Anyway. Okay, well, I finished that piece, and I'll show it to you right here. There it is. And it wraps around the back of the bucket really good. And now what I'm going to do is start on this rear frame area. Now right here, this channel, I got to have it kick on up about 20 inches and level out some. So I've bent one of these already. And I kind of forgot to show you how I did it, and this is kind of maybe a trade secret I shouldn't be telling. But at any rate, that's it. That's the bent channel. It's about 60 degrees. Now I've got to put another one up here. You can see my marks here. And bend it the other way and weld it. So what I've done was cut a bunch of notches in here. I've cut a bunch of notches in here, and then welded it and re-ground it back so it looks bent. And that was my plan. My plan is to take just raw, everyday type material and make it look kind of unique, and anybody that knows how to do anything with metal or something will see the work, you know, the man hours put in it. So I'm going to start cutting these right here, and I'll try to show you some of that. Now that first bin I just showed you, I cut it with the cutoff wheel, but that just seemed to take too long, so I'm going to try this with the torch and see if that makes it a little quicker. Yeah, that other bin I've got like 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours on that bin. So we'll see what we can do here. Well, there's the curve. That's what it's supposed to look like when we're finished. That channel. And you might wonder, well, how can he do that, right? So on the other one here, I've got it laid out and I'll show you. What we've done was cut out little small pieces of pie. Actually 8 of them, because we need to take 4 inches out of the inside of the radius. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these with the torch and bend them and see how it fits up, and I'll show you what happens then. Well, we just finished cutting it, and that's kind of what it looks like right now. I'll have to clean it up a little bit, then we'll pull them together, weld them back up, grind them, and you won't even be able to tell that they was there. Well, I've cut them and I've welded these joints. You can see them right there. And now I'm grinding them. And they'll look like this when I'm finished. Hopefully you can see that. And I got to grind up here, and I've done ground the bottom part of that one. So that's kind of how it'll look. After about 45 more minutes of grinding and eating dust. Okay, well, I finished grounding one of them, and this is the finished product. Now I'm going to sandblast this when I get it all together, and that'll take some of that shine off, and then I'll primer it. And then you won't even be able to tell that there was welds there. Yeah, somebody's going to think I put it in the press or something and bent it, which is cool. Well, I've cut me a rear cross member. I got to come along holding the channel frame part together, and I got another piece of tubing over here on the end, trying to hold this square or actually at the same plane. And I've cut my spreader bar. So what I'm going to do is tack this together. I'll tack it right here and right over here and up here and here. And then I'll just I'll do what they call a cross measurements to make sure it's square. When it's square, I'll tack some more material on there to hold it square, and then go ahead and weld these up solid, and that'll be the basis of my frame. Then we can start putting those kick ups I was showing you I made just a few minutes ago. Anyway, another hot day. Well, with this frame, I've done the same that I've done with the motorcycle frames, the bicycles we've made, just about everything I've ever made. What I've done, I've taken a center line and put it on the floor, and then we go out from that line. We actually struck that up with a straight edge or chalk line, and then we put the center, like each cross member, we made marks, and we keep that on the center line. Now what that helps me do is keep my frame square and the same on both sides. So that's what we're going there. I went ahead and tacked the rear cross member on, and I'm getting ready to do this front one right here. And then after I get that done, we'll see how square it is. When we get it square, like I said, we'll put some some strap across it and hold it square, and weld it up solid. Well, I got it tacked up, and what I've got to do now is notch it. You know, where that kick up comes up, it's going to tie in here and here, and it's going to come on up like that. I want to notch it so it looks nice, notch this so it looks nice and clean on the channel. When you look at it from the outside, you'll be able to see that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those corners out on both sides, and then I'll start the camera up again here and show you how it looks. Okay, like I said a minute ago, I had to wait till Kenny come to help me do the cross measurement. So let's do this cross measurement, okay?
All right.
Now, what does this exactly do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Alright, well what it does is pretty much just lines up the frame to make sure you got everything square, because you don't want to be riding down the road with that crooked frame. It looked pretty weird.
Well, this one measures 86 1/8.
Right.
Okay. Now we had to put this come along on there, right? To kind of spring it. Okay, 86 1/8. We're okay. Perfect. Now they always say that within a 1/4 inch is close enough on a frame, but that's that. Well, I've been working on the frame. There you go, you can see it behind me. And I've come to a standstill. I decided to put, instead of putting the original A model cross member. Okay, there's the original A model cross member. I decided to go ahead and put a pipe cross member, like I did on the front. See the front one right here? That's the pipe. And I just thought it would look better on those kick-ups. So I want to use like 2.5 inch pipe, a little bigger than the ones I used up front. But I want to put a bend in it to give it that kind of traditional look. So I got to find a bender. I hadn't found a bender, so I'm on a standstill. So I thought I'd start working on this rear end here. Now this is a 1936 Ford rear end. Now they call them a banjo rear end. I guess because of that part looks like a banjo there. Now this rear end has a mechanical brakes. You can kind of see them right there. So to make this rear end work, I've got to cut the housing off and graft on like Ford 8-inch or 9-inch housings on there, and then from what I've been told, use Ford 28 spline axles and Ranger, what they call Ranger 7.25 or 7.5 rear end. So any of the early Rangers, the first Rangers, the small truck, or the Broncos, I got to get the spider gears out of them. So this is all, it looks like it's going to take maybe 3 or 4 rear ends and we'll scrap to make one good banjo rear end. Now there's cheaper ways to go. Well, not really cheaper, but there's easier ways to go. They make a whole housing for this thing, Winters does, and it makes it a quick change, which is cool. So all you use is the inside axles and these outside, let me get some better light, and these outside banjo housings. So but that's $1,400. So I don't think that's not the way I can go. And the reason why I want to use this rear end is they're cool looking. So I want to keep it nostalgic and cool. So that's what we're doing. So I'm trying to get the wheels off of it right now, and they're all rusted up, and it looks like I'm going to have to take the torch and just cut them off. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the whole axle off, too. So those nuts are probably shot also. Gosh, that's really hard to cut. Yeah. Gotta get some water. Watch out, Dusty. I don't think it's hub. See, they got a tapered axle, and the hub, the drum, is on there, and you're supposed to have a wheel puller to pull them off. And I thought, well, maybe I could just heat it up with that torch and knock it off, but it doesn't seem to be working. So I might have to try to rethink this. Just rethink it and drink a beer or something. I'm definitely thinking about torching the whole tube off and everything as close to that hub as I could. And I looked at it, right? And it's starting to move. I'll see if we got enough light to show you. See where I cut that axle off? It's already sliding back in there. So I guess what I need to do is just keep hitting it with the hammer, and it'll probably slide off, which is good. Because I'd like to save as much of that housing I could, because I might have to use every bit of it I can find to match the new axles I get. Well, okay, I kept hitting it about 4 or 5 more times, and it finally came off. And actually, this thing don't look nothing like I thought it would. It's kind of unique. See, it's kind of like a floating axle, because this axle just floats in the housing, and the bearings are in the hub here, and they ride right over this thing. So it wasn't quite what I expected, because I've never seen one of these. This same type axle, they went from the A models, 28, 29, to B models, 30. B model be 32. And then 34. It went all the way up to 48. They use this same thing all the way up to 47 to 48. So the weird thing about it is, the reason they kind of quit using these is since it's got a taper shaft and that hub slides on that taper shaft, if your axle breaks, then your wheel just goes out and tears the fender of your car up. So they're not safety axles, they call. So later on, they got a pressed bearing here that holds the axle in if it breaks, or like Chevrolet uses a clip up inside the main housing. But anyway, I got one more to go. We'll see what we can get. It's kind of funny, because I've always read, I've never worked on one of these, but I've read that these hubs are hard to get off, and you have to use a puller, a hub puller. And when I was beating the other one off, this one just went ahead and fell off. So, wasn't any problem for me. But then again, this rear end had been sitting out in the woods in a junkyard down in Martinsville for I don't know how many years. It was a 37, and the wheels was rusted. They was rusted down to ground level, and they was those wire wheels, which would have been nice to have, but they was all ate up. So I have a feeling maybe they parked it there in, say, mid-40s, maybe 50s, right? So this is what? That's still almost 60 years ago, or whatever. At any rate, Well, on the backing plates, I tried to take them off the right way, and it was going to take too long. They were stripping, so I went ahead and just took the torch, cut them off. There they are. I might try to put them on eBay. Somebody might want to buy some original backing plates. I do know they make brand new 40s, but I don't know if 37's in demand or not. Anyway, that's about all I'm going to do tonight, I think. Well, okay. I forgot to tell you, earlier today, I went ahead and finished the end of these spring purchases here. Then a piece of flat bar, made it around, capped it, welded it, and ground it to give this a finished look, you see. So that's going to look pretty good. And remember I was talking about the pipe bender. I'm going to take, it'll be a piece of pipe, and it'll go up and around the curve and weld in there, and that's what's going to hold that rear spring. Right there's the rear spring. A real high arched rear spring. So when you see this thing going down the road from the back, all you're going to see is this huge spring in that banjo rear end, which is really going to show it off a lot, I think. Well, I decided not to use that cross member, that rear cross member I showed you right here. I thought I'd make one out of pipe. And so I had to go down to Harbor Freight and buy me a big pipe bender. But my first attempt kind of flattened the pipe out. I didn't like how it looked. So as usual, kind of waited around here for Kenny to help, but he got other plans. And so I called on Ray, my old friend, and his boy Josh. So what we've decided to do is fill the pipe full of sand, try to pack it in there and weld it and cap it, and then put it in the bender, and maybe it won't flatten out so much. So we'll see what happens. Well, we bent the pipe with the sand in it and such, and there it is behind me. It still flattened it out some. I'm really not tickled with it. So this is the second piece of pipe. This pipe cost about $80 a length, right? So I've had a small piece left over, so I thought I'd go ahead and try to do it like I did the rest of the channel, and cut a bunch of slots in it, and weld it back up, and see if it's got the good, if I can make it have that good slope. I know it's a lot of work. Like those other bends was like 3 hours a piece, but I think it's going to really make it look a lot better if I do it. So I guess I'll just go that extra mile and at least try, and we'll see what happens. Okay, well, I started out with a 16-inch. I wanted a 16-inch, how would you say it, not a radius, because I was going to cut my slots within a 16-inch part of the pipe, and that looked like it would give me the radius I want. So that was 16 1/8 inch cuts. Well, I didn't quite do it, so I cut in between each one of those, which made it 32 cuts now, right? I got to weld up. But anyway, it looked pretty good. There it is. I still got to cut, bring it back straight, but that's the cut version versus the pipe bender version. Now you tell me what you think looks the best so far. And I guess I'm gonna be cutting some more slots and doing a lot of welding and a lot more grinding. So that's how it's done. Well, it's another Saturday. I kind of rigged out the way the frame's going to look on the front here, and I didn't really like how short the radius rods was going to be. That's these. These are A model radius rods, so the later model cars had longer ones, so I thought I'd go down to Bassett, Virginia. There's an old junkyard down there, but they've been crushing stuff, been crushing quite a few things, and but still there's a few old things down there. So I picked up a couple 37 to 41 axles and spindles too. They had quite a few of those still left. Matter of fact, I'm just walking through the woods, and here lays a whole rig. This here, somebody had already taken this one out. There's the longer radius rods, and let's see if I can get a shot of the spindles here. They're the round spindles. They come off a 37 to 41. Right here might be a better one here. You can kind of see it. Now I'm trying to weld this cross member in, and it wasn't squared up. So I had to go ahead and put this come along on here to square up this cross member, this rear cross member. So now I'm ready to weld it in. Now this is the one I did all the welding to and stuff, and that just looks a whole lot better. Well, I think it looks a whole lot better than the one I did before. It's got a good nice radius to it and everything. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that in right now, and that's the next part of the project. That's a 31 Lincoln frame, right?
That's it.
And I guess that goes under something that looks like this in here.
Same thing. 33. Same thing.
That's a pretty car. Big. This one has a V12 in it. And this is a complete frame right here. You said this was going under a 31, right?
Yeah, but apparently it's identical to the 33.
You're right. Looks awful heavy duty.
It sure does.
Now, just like
Yeah,
that
we'll
rear end.
remove this thing. This is,
Okay. Like this rear end looks like something that comes out of a 1.5-ton truck, 2-ton truck to me. But it's pretty neat. And this is the block, which is a V8 block, right?
yeah, this one's an 8.
And he
But the
said
frame's the same.
and is that what's that block made out of? Is that just cast or polished like that, or?
I think it's just a polished casting. I'm really not sure.
That looks kind of cool. And
It's very cool.
then he said the jugs was right here. These are the cylinders. There they are. So the motor's huge. And there, I guess those are pistons out of it, so they got a long throw. Okay, I don't know what Jack was thinking, but he decided to bring this truck to carry it. And so I guess he's going to have to cut that frame in, what, 4 or 5 pieces maybe.
I better restore it. I need more money if you're cutting it up. Oh man, they're gonna run me out of the Lincoln Club. Been lucky so far. I'll see them before I get to them.